Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going deeper than ever before. Inside the courtroom where the truth about the Brown family's finances has finally come crashing into the light. This isn't just another SisterWives rumor. This is the story of betrayal, luxury, and a $120,000 secret that has left fans speechless. They called it the tale of two RVs. One, a modest fifth-wheel Janelle Brown bought with her own hard-earned money, sitting crooked on the dusty plains of Kody Pass. The other, a top-of-the-line luxury RV, complete with a fireplace, king-sized bed, and 3 slide-outs, resting comfortably beside Robyn Brown's million-dollar mansion. And the most shocking part? That luxury RV wasn't bought by Robyn or Kody. It was bought using family business money, the same account Janelle, Christine, and Mary had been contributing to for years. For so long, viewers asked, where does all the family money go? We saw Christine crowdfunding for her daughter's surgery while Robyn browsed million-dollar listings. We saw Janelle scraping together rent money while Kody and Robyn lived in comfort. And now we finally have proof, receipts, court filings, and legal testimony revealing what insiders are calling the adult-child asset scam. The story starts in 2021. Janelle, exhausted from years of waiting, moves onto Kody Pass, determined to make her dream a reality. She buys her own modest RV. No luxury, no help from Kody, just grit, independence, and faith that one day the land she invested in would finally become a home. Meanwhile, only a few miles away, behind the gates of Robyn's mansion, another RV appeared. Not the dusty kind. A $120,000 Keystone Fusion 424, a rolling palace with full utilities, Wi-Fi, and climate control. And it wasn't going anywhere. It was parked there, but permanently, for one person, Dayton Brown, Robyn's adult son. But when Janelle's financial team began to dig through the books of Brown Family Entertainment LLC, one line item stopped them cold. A major purchase from an RV dealership, listed not under Kody or Robyn, but under the LLC itself. Meaning it wasn't a private expense. It was a business expense. A luxury vehicle paid for with the collective family funds. Janelle was furious and heartbroken. For years, she'd poured money into that LLC, believing it was for the good of all the wives and kids. But this was theft disguised as family accounting. She didn't want revenge. She wanted fairness. Her lawyers reached out privately, asking Kody and Robyn to simply pay her back her share. $30,000. Their response? Absolute denial. They claimed the RV was a production unit, a workspace. They even claimed Dayton was using it for filming logistics. But Janelle's team had the evidence. No film records, no production use, and not 1 minute of footage ever shot inside that RV. It was all a lie, a paper shield to cover a personal luxury purchase. When they refused to negotiate, Janelle did what no one in the family ever had the courage to do. She filed a lawsuit. In Coconino County Superior Court, the case was filed. Janelle Brown versus Brown Family Entertainment LLC, Kody Brown, and Robyn Brown. The charges? Breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of assets, fraudulent conveyance. The discovery process was explosive. Court orders forced Kody and Robyn to hand over years of bank statements and purchase records. And what they revealed painted a disturbing pattern. Lavish vacations, designer shopping sprees, and endless personal charges, all run through the family business account. But the RV was the centerpiece. The smoking gun. Kody and Robyn's defense? They claimed Dayton needed the RV for therapeutic reasons, that it was part of his transition to adulthood, and the family merely supported that need through their LLC. They even argued he was an unofficial production assistant. But the judge wasn't buying it, and neither was the public. For Janelle, this case became about so much more than money. It was about 30 years of feeling invisible. It was about watching her children struggle while others thrived off the same pool of funds. It was about integrity, and the courage to finally stand up and say, enough. Because on one side of Kody Pass stood a dusty, sun-beaten trailer, bought with love, sweat, and sacrifice. And on the other side, a gleaming luxury RV, bought with deception and entitlement. 2 trailers, 2 women. One truth finally dragged into the light of justice. Stay tuned, because the next phase of this trial could change everything we thought we knew about the Brown family's empire. And as always, I'll be here, connecting the dots, revealing what they don't want you to see. Janelle wasn't just suing for her share of an asset. She was suing for validation, for dignity, For 30 years of loyalty that had been trampled beneath the weight of favoritism and deceit. What began as a quiet legal filing had now become a full-blown reckoning, a spiritual and financial confrontation that the world would soon witness. The courtroom was hushed on the morning of the trial. The Cookino County Superior Court had never felt so heavy with anticipation. Fans, reporters, and even former family friends filled the back rows, whispering among themselves, waiting for the moment when the truth about the Browns' finances would finally be exposed. At the plaintiff's table sat Janelle Brown, calm, poised, and unflinchingly resolute. Gone was the exhausted woman viewers had seen living out of a fifth-wheel trailer in the unforgiving wind of Coyote Pass. In her place sat a woman reborn, a mother, a provider, and a business partner demanding justice for decades of betrayal. Flanking her were two sharp-eyed attorneys dressed in tailored charcoal suits, flipping through thick binders of evidence. Across the aisle, the picture was entirely different. Kody Brown, visibly tense, shifted in his chair, his jaw tightening as he tugged at his tie, a nervous tic that betrayed his brewing anger. His eyes darted from the judge to the gallery, scanning the faces like a man trapped in his own collapsing empire. Beside him, Robyn dabbed delicately at her eyes with a tissue, her voice soft, her posture fragile, a familiar act that had once melted hearts on television. But here, in this courtroom, no camera crew was waiting to edit her tears into sympathy. There would be no background music, no producer to shape perception. Here only the truth mattered. Janelle's lead attorney, a no-nonsense litigator named Porter, stood and approached the bench with deliberate precision. Her voice was cool, composed, and surgical. "Your Honor," she began, "this case is not about emotion. It's not about reality television. It's about betrayal, financial betrayal, and the deliberate misuse of funds belonging to every member of a family partnership." She paced slowly, her heels echoing on the marble floor. "For decades, my client contributed to Brown Family Entertainment, LLC, a partnership built on trust, faith, and shared income. It was the collective wallet of a spiritual family. Every dollar earned from the show, every investment in their shared property, every ounce of labor was meant to benefit all wives and all children equally. But that trust," she paused, letting the silence hang like a guillotine, "was violated." Then came the first bombshell. From a sleek evidence folder, Porter produced a certified bill of sale, crisp, official, and devastating. Holding it up for the court, she declared, "This is a record of a purchase made by Brown Family Entertainment, LLC, not by Kody Brown, not by Robyn Brown. A total of $117,850 was spent on a 2020 Keystone Fusion RV, a luxury home on wheels that was never used by the business, never used by the family, and never left one woman's property." Her voice sharpened. "The defendants took partnership money and used it to buy a private residence, a luxury apartment, for Mrs. Brown's adult son, Dayton. My client was never informed. She never consented. And when she discovered the truth, she was told it was a business vehicle." A low murmur rippled through the courtroom. Kody clenched his jaw, whispering something to Robyn, who shook her head and stared down at her tissue. But Porter wasn't finished. "Our team didn't stop at paperwork," she continued. "We conducted a 6-month investigation. We tracked the location of this so-called company vehicle using GPS data, satellite imaging, and sworn neighbor testimony. The evidence will show that this RV never moved, not once. It was permanently stationed beside Mrs. Brown's $1 million home. It was not a production unit. It was not a business asset. It was a private residence, funded by the very family they deceived." The audience gasped as the attorney motioned toward a large screen where photos began to appear. Satellite images showing the RV, month after month in the exact same position. "This," she said, pointing with a laser pen, "is a symbol of deceit. While my client lived in a trailer she purchased with her own post-tax income, hauling water and fighting the Arizona cold, the defendants provided their adult son with a $120,000 luxury suite paid for with shared funds." Then came the first witness. A middle-aged man in a slightly tight suit walked nervously to the stand, the RV salesman who handled the transaction. He adjusted his collar and cleared his throat before speaking. "Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown came to the dealership together," he began. "They said they were looking for something for their son, a place where he could live but stay close to home." "Did they ever mention this was a business purchase?" Porter asked. He shook his head immediately. "No, ma'am, not once. They said it was for Dayton, that he needed space, privacy. Mrs. Brown was very clear about wanting it to be comfortable. She picked out the model herself. Porter leaned forward, voice crisp. Did they ever mention that other family members would use it? Janelle Brown? Christine Brown? Mary Brown? No, he said firmly. The entire conversation was about their son. Kody's jaw flexed as the courtroom fell into silence. Next came the aerial footage and the smoking gun. Image after image appeared on the courtroom screen. First, the gravel pad empty. Next, the Keystone Fusion parked neatly in place beside Robyn's mansion. And then for 2 years straight, the same RV, unmoved, untouched, rooted like a monument to favoritism. Finally, a neighbor was called to testify. A woman in her 50s, composed but visibly uncomfortable, took the stand. I live directly across from Mrs. Brown, she said softly. That RV's been there for years. I see Dayton come and go daily. He lives there, that's his home. I've never once seen it moved, never seen anyone else using it. The courtroom buzzed again. It was irrefutable. The so-called mobile production unit was nothing more than a stationary luxury apartment. As Janelle listened, she didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply watched, a mix of sorrow and vindication in her eyes. Because this wasn't just about one RV. It was about every moment she'd been told there's not enough money. Every time her dreams were delayed, her needs dismissed, her loyalty ignored. Now the truth was laid bare, under oath, under the light of justice. And for the first time, Kody and Robyn Brown could no longer hide behind the cameras. Because in this courtroom, the only script that mattered was the truth. The tension inside that courtroom was thick enough to cut with a knife. Janelle's legal team had gone straight for the jugular, subpoenaing production records from the show's parent company. When the production accountant took the stand, the truth began to unravel. Can you find any record, Janelle's lawyer asked, of Brown Family Entertainment, LLC billing the network for the use of an RV as a production office? The accountant flipped through his spreadsheets, his voice calm but final. No, there are no such records. The lawyer didn't stop there. And can you find any record of a Mr. Dayton Brown being on the payroll as a production assistant, a cameraman, or in any paid capacity at all? Again, the answer was no. The courtroom fell silent. The so-called production expense was a lie, a complete fabrication meant to justify an unjustifiable purchase. Brick by brick, Kody and Robyn's defense was crumbling under the weight of their own deception. When it came time for the defense to present their case, their tone changed. Facts had failed them. Emotion was all they had left. Robyn took the stand, already dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Her voice trembled. It was for Dayton, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. My Dayton. He's such a sensitive boy. The move to Flagstaff was hard on him. He needed his own space to grow and be independent, but I needed him close. The RV was the perfect answer. She painted herself as the selfless, protective mother, the martyr doing whatever it took to help her struggling son. Then she looked directly at the judge and tried to spin it as a family investment. It was never just for Dayton, she claimed. I saw it as something the whole family could use. A place to gather at Coyote Pass, a home base for everyone. But Janelle's lawyer was ready. He rose slowly, calm yet lethal. Mrs. Brown, he began, you claim you had these family visions for the RV. In the more than 2 years since its purchase, did you ever once offer the keys to Janelle Brown, who was living on Coyote Pass in a trailer without running water? Robyn hesitated. Well, we never got the utilities hooked up. It wasn't the right time. The lawyer moved in for the kill. So your so-called vision depended on conditions that you, as part owner of that land, never even bothered to meet. You bought a $120,000 RV for a dream you never intended to live. Then came the knockout question. Can you produce a single email, a single text message, a single record of a call where you discussed this purchase with your business partner, Janelle Brown, before it was made? Robyn stammered. Kody handled the business side. We all trusted him. The lawyer's voice sharpened. So you were either completely uninvolved in spending over $100,000 of company money, or you were involved and deliberately excluded your partner. Which is it? Robyn froze. Every tear now looked staged. Every quiver rehearsed. Her performance had collapsed. Then came Kody's turn. He swaggered to the stand with that familiar arrogance, glaring straight at Janelle. This is an attack on my family, he thundered. I am the leader. I make the decisions. Dayton needed help. I did what any good husband and father would do. But the cross-examination was brutal. Mr. Brown, Janelle's lawyer began, As president of Brown Family Entertainment LLC, you have a fiduciary duty to all partners. How does purchasing a depreciating asset, an RV, for the exclusive rent-free use of one adult child benefit the partnership as a whole? Kody tried to deflect. It kept the family together. It kept Robyn happy. The lawyer shot back. So you used LLC funds partially owned by Janelle, Mary, and Christine, to keep Robyn happy? The courtroom was frozen. Kody wasn't running a family business. He was running a personal bank for Robyn. Then the final blow came. Mr. Brown, the LLC owns the RV. That means Janelle Brown owns 25% of it. Do you believe it's acceptable to deny a partner access to an asset she legally co-owns? Kody snapped. She never asked. The lawyer's voice cut through the air. Because she never knew. You and your wife hid it from her. Isn't that the truth, Mr. Brown? Silence. Kody's face went pale. There was nothing left to say. A week later, the judge delivered his ruling, and he did not hold back. He called the RV purchase a shocking and deliberate act of financial sabotage. Reading from his judgment, he declared, "This was not an investment. This was a gift. A blatant and deceptive transfer of communal funds to benefit one child, while another partner lived in hardship on the very land this asset was meant for." His ruling was swift and clear. The RV's purchase value, $120,000. Janelle's rightful 25% share, $30,000, plus interest from the date of purchase. Justice at long last had been served. And for Kody and Robyn, the cost of deceit had finally come due. What just happened in that courtroom is something the TLC cameras will never show you. Because when the gavel came down, it didn't just end a case. It shattered the last illusion of Kody and Robyn's financial empire. The judge ordered them to pay Janelle's full legal fees, over $20,000, plus a total judgment exceeding $50,000. And because the RV, the so-called family asset, couldn't be divided, Kody and Robyn were ordered to pay Janelle the entire amount in cash within 60 days. That's when the real panic began. Sources close to the Brown family tell us that Kody and Robyn don't have that kind of liquid cash. Their LLC accounts are drained. Their so-called investments have vanished into lifestyle expenses and endless legal bills. They're now facing the humiliating reality of having to sell personal possessions just to pay off Janelle. And here's where the irony hits hard. The woman who allegedly redirected family funds to buy her son a luxury RV is now being forced to pawn her own luxury items, her jewelry, her designer handbags, even her beloved Precious Moments figurine collection. For years, Robyn lived in the comfort of other people's sacrifices. Now she's learning what that comfort cost. For Janelle, this wasn't just about the money. It was vindication. A court of law finally acknowledged what she and viewers had known for years, that the family's finances were built not on fairness, but on favoritism. That while one wife struggled in an RV she had to buy herself, another was funding her son's luxury life with family money. This verdict didn't just expose a financial scam, it buried the dream of the plural family once and for all. The fantasy is dead. The illusion is over. And this judgment is the final nail in its coffin. According to our courthouse insiders, the scene right after the verdict was a study in opposites. Janelle walked out quietly, no gloating, no celebration, just a woman who had fought for justice and finally won. She looked relieved. Meanwhile, Kody and Robyn stormed out, faces tight with fury and disbelief. Kody's rage was palpable. His authority, his pride, his image as patriarch shattered in public. And Robyn? Her tears weren't manipulative this time, they were real. Because this wasn't a scripted episode. This was her reality collapsing. That night inside their mansion, chaos erupted. Kody reportedly paced the floors in a rage, rewriting the story in his head, painting himself as the victim, the misunderstood hero, the man betrayed by the system. He ignored the evidence, the testimony, the receipts. Because facing the truth meant admitting he was wrong. Robyn, on the other hand, spiraled into panic. The judgment wasn't against an LLC, it was against her. She kept asking, how can they do this to us? We did this for our son. But the truth was simple. She had blurred the lines between family loyalty and financial deceit. And now the law had caught up. Their desperation led them to one final hope, an appeal. But even their lawyer shut that down fast. Appeals cost money they don't have. And this ruling was based on hard evidence, not interpretation. There was no loophole left to exploit. When the lawyer mentioned the word lien, Robyn reportedly broke down completely. because that word meant the nightmare was real. Her mansion, her sanctuary, could now be legally claimed if they failed to pay Janelle. In a final act of desperation, Kody went to the bank, begging for a personal loan or line of credit. The answer? A cold, humiliating no. Because the truth, as the loan officer saw in black and white, was the same truth the world now knows. Kody and Robyn Brown are house rich. And cash poor. And cash poor. When Kody and Robyn walked out of that courtroom, they had no idea just how far their financial freefall was about to go. Because behind the mansion walls, beneath the facade of control and confidence, the truth was brutal. They were drowning in debt. Their sprawling Flagstaff mansion carried a massive mortgage. Add to that multiple car loans, a mountain of credit card balances, and suddenly the illusion of wealth began to collapse. The reality was undeniable. The Brown family's financial empire wasn't built on stability or strategy. It was built on television money, and that house of cards was beginning to sway. Ratings were slipping. The family was fractured, and TLC's checks were no longer enough to support Kody and Robyn's lavish lifestyle. When they went to the bank hoping to secure a personal loan or line of credit, the response was immediate and humiliating. Denied. The bank saw what the world is now seeing, that Kody and Robyn Brown were a bad financial risk. But this is where the story turns darker and far more revealing. Because with the bank doors slammed in their faces, Kody and Robyn turned to the one person they had always been able to manipulate, Mary Brown. Our insider source provided a detailed account of a phone call that took place just 2 weeks after the verdict. But this wasn't a call of apology or reconciliation. It was a call of desperation. Kody led the conversation, spinning a familiar web of manipulation. He told Mary that Janelle was on a warpath, trying to bankrupt the family out of spite. He painted Janelle as the aggressor, the destroyer of the family's legacy. Then came Robyn. Her voice trembling, she allegedly said, "I don't know what we're going to do, Mary. Janelle's lawyers are going to take our home. Solomon and Ariella could be homeless." The emotional manipulation was textbook. They weren't asking Mary to help with a legitimate debt. They were trying to weaponize guilt, fear, and maternal sympathy. They begged Mary to loan them $60,000 from her personal business funds, promising to pay her back when things turned around with the show. What they didn't count on was that Mary had changed. For years, she had been Kody and Robyn's financial safety net, propping them up emotionally and financially, all while being cast aside. But this time, Mary saw it for what it was, another attempt to drain her dry. Hearing them demonize Janelle, a woman she had recently grown closer to, was the final straw. She knew the details of the RV scandal. She knew where the money had gone. And she finally saw the situation with crystal clarity. This wasn't about saving the family. It was about enabling Kody and Robyn's bad behavior one last time. So Mary's answer was calm, steady, and final. "I'm sorry you're in this position," she told them, "but my finances are my own now. I can't help you." That single line shattered decades of manipulation. Kody exploded. He reportedly unleashed a tirade of verbal abuse, calling Mary selfish, disloyal, and claiming this was the final nail in the coffin of their spiritual marriage. But for the first time, the emotional blackmail didn't work. The threats didn't land. Mary had broken free. It was a quiet but powerful moment of victory, not in a courtroom, but in her soul. She had finally stopped funding her own abuse. Meanwhile, word of Janelle's legal win spread quickly through the Brown family, and the reactions were telling. Christine, we're told, was ecstatic. This wasn't just about money, and it was about principle. Christine had walked away from her marriage with little more than peace of mind. But watching Janelle fight and win gave her a deep sense of vindication. It confirmed what she had always known, that all the family's resources had been funneled toward one household, Robyn's. Sources say Christine and Janelle shared a long, celebratory dinner, toasting to new beginnings and to justice finally served. Their bond, once strained by polygamy's imbalance, had now transformed into genuine sisterhood, forged in truth, not manipulation. Janelle's children were equally proud. Gabe and Garrison, who had endured their own heartbreaks with Kody, saw this as the moment the world finally caught up to what they had been saying for years. Their father had abandoned them for Robyn's household. The $120,000 RV wasn't just a vehicle, it was a symbol of abandonment. To them, their mother wasn't just a survivor, she was a warrior. She had faced the patriarch in court, presented the truth, and won. Their text messages, sources say, were filled with pride, love, and admiration. Janelle's quiet strength had become the family's rallying cry. But what came next revealed just how deep the deception really went. Through the lawsuit's discovery process, Janelle's lawyers uncovered a goldmine of financial misconduct. 5 years of records from Brown Family Entertainment, LLC exposed a disturbing truth. The family's corporate account had been used as a personal piggy bank for Kody and Robyn. The details are staggering. Thousands of dollars charged to high-end retailers like Victoria's Secret. Robyn claimed they were wardrobe expenses for the show. Multiple bills from expensive restaurants on nights when no filming took place. Those business dinners were, in reality, Kody and Robyn's personal date nights, paid for with family money. Even more shocking, payroll payments to Robyn's niece for childcare, despite Robyn already having a full-time nanny. Double-dipping the family funds, enriching her own relatives. And then there were Kody's indulgences, memberships at exclusive gun clubs, firearm accessories, and maintenance on his luxury sports car, all hidden under vague categories like travel or equipment. The portrait that emerged was damning. This wasn't a family business. It was a private slush fund built to maintain Kody and Robyn's comfort while the other wives were told to tighten their belts. The RV wasn't a mistake. It was the final glaring proof of years of financial infidelity. With the 60-day payment clock ticking and no money left, Kody and Robyn were finally forced to confront the unthinkable, liquidating their personal assets. And this is where the story turns into poetic justice. Robyn, the self-proclaimed moral compass, the woman who surrounded herself with tokens of purity and family devotion, began selling off her treasures. She made quiet trips to pawn shops and luxury consignment stores in Flagstaff and Scottsdale, trading in her handbags and jewelry for cash. But the most humiliating sale of all? Her Precious Moments figurine collection. Those little ceramic symbols of innocence and faith, now listed online by the very woman who once called herself the family's heart. Excellent condition, make your best offer. It wasn't redemption. It was repayment, a court-ordered reckoning. Even then, it wasn't enough. With only a week left, Kody and Robyn were still short. And so, in a moment dripping with irony, Kody made the ultimate sacrifice. He sold his truck. Not just any truck, his prized diesel Ford F-350 dually. The same one he had paraded around Flagstaff as a symbol of power and masculinity. The very truck that towed Dayton's luxury fifth wheel. To pay the debt caused by that very RV, Kody had to sell the only vehicle capable of moving it. You couldn't script irony more perfectly. The sale was rushed, desperate, and humiliating. But on the 5th day before the deadline, the money was wired to Janelle's attorney, every cent of it with interest. For Janelle, it wasn't about celebration. It was closure. That payment was the final severance from a 30-year illusion. It was her freedom fund, the price of liberation from a man who had built an empire on manipulation and favoritism. And in the end, it was Kody and Robyn who were forced to pay it. This wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a revolution inside the Brown family, a revolt that shattered the myth of unity and exposed the ugly truth. This was never a family. It was a kingdom, with a king, a favored queen, and a court of women expected to serve. But one of those women, Janelle Brown, finally rose up, fought back, and won. And that, my friends, is how empires fall. The question now isn't if more secrets will come out. It's when. And you can be sure. SisterWives crew will be right here to bring you every single detail. Right here to bring you every single detail.